The seating arrangement placed me at table 18, nestled in a corner by the kitchen entrance, surrounded by catering crew and venue workers. My cousin Rachel's wedding celebration welcomed 300 guests, yet I found myself among those serving the event. "We chose a quieter spot for you," Rachel had said earlier with a forced smile. "You always seem uneasy at large gatherings, and frankly, Brandon's business associates needed the prominent tables. You get it, right?" Brandon, her groom, was a commercial real estate agent who dominated the rehearsal dinner with tales of his blockbuster deals and pivotal negotiations. When someone inquired about my work, Rachel cut in before I could respond. "Olivia runs a small online store," she said with a wave of her hand. "Something with handmade jewelry, very artsy." I started to clarify, but Brandon had already shifted to boasting about a property deal, and no one seemed curious about my actual response, so I let it slide. What Rachel didn't know was that my small online store was Meridian Technologies, a software firm I launched 7 years ago, which had just finalized a $340 million acquisition by TechCore Industries. The news was set to break at 8 p.m. It was now 7:43 p.m. At table 18, I sat between Marco, a server, and the venue's event planner, both courteous but visibly puzzled about a guest dining with staff. "Family dynamics," I explained with a faint grin. Marco nodded knowingly. "I've worked enough weddings to get it. Say no more." At the main table, Rachel and Brandon were the center of attention, flanked by his affluent, well-connected parents. His father ran a chain of high-end car dealerships, while his mother, a fixture on multiple charity boards, ensured everyone knew her status. During the cocktail hour, she'd corner me by the bar. "So, you're the cousin with the little craft shop on Etsy," she'd said with a condescending smile. "How charming. It must be nice to have a hobby that earns a bit of extra cash." "It's not quite," I began, but she cut me off. "Brandon was just telling us about his latest deal, $12 million. Can you fathom that?" She patted my arm. "But hobbies matter too, dear. Everyone needs a creative outlet." I slipped away before saying something I'd regret. Now, as an exquisite plated meal arrived, shared with the catering team, I glanced at my phone. 11 minutes until the press release. TechCore's PR team had synced with major financial outlets, Bloomberg, Reuters, The Wall Street Journal, for a simultaneous drop. My phone vibrated with a text from my CFO. "Stocks climbing in after-hours trading. This is massive. Enjoy the wedding." I gave a small smile and tucked the phone away. Brandon rose for his toast, champagne in hand, his voice overly loud, buoyed by liquor and the crowd's attention. "Thank you all for being here," he began, "especially my amazing wife, Rachel, who somehow agreed to marry someone like me." Laughter and claps followed. "And to my parents for showing me what true success means. Dad always said, work hard, close big deals, and never think small." He gestured grandly. "That's what sets winners apart from, well, everyone else." His gaze landed on me at table 18, his smirk growing. "We're thankful for everyone here, even family with their little side projects and hobbies, because family supports each other no matter what level they're at." He raised his glass to real careers and real success. The room burst into applause. Rachel glowed. Brandon's parents beamed with pride. At table 18, Marco cringed. "That was sharp," he said. "Very," I replied evenly. The first dance began, Rachel and Brandon swaying to a tender ballad as guests snapped photos. The DJ dimmed the lights, setting a romantic mood. My phone buzzed, 8 p.m. The press release was live. Murmurs started near the bar as guests checked their phones. More devices appeared. A gasp cut through the air. The DJ's music played on, but the room's focus splintered. Guests huddled, sharing screens, whispering excitedly. Brandon's father checked his phone, scrolled, and paled. Rachel, mid-dance, noticed the shift, her smile wavering. Brandon, unaware, kept swaying. Then one of Brandon's business contacts stood and shouted, "Olivia Chin just sold her company for $340 million. The music halted. Every eye turned to table 18. Brandon froze mid-step, still holding Rachel. "What?" The guest waved his phone, his voice ringing in the silence. "Meridian Technologies. acquired by TechCore Industries for $340 million. The founder and CEO is, he scrolled, then locked eyes with me. Olivia Chin, 33, based here. That's got to be a mistake, Brandon said, his confidence fading. Olivia makes jewelry or something. It's on Bloomberg, the man pressed. Meridian, founded 7 years ago, specializes in enterprise security software with a Fortune 500 client list. It's one of the year's biggest tech deals. Rachel's expression shifted from confusion to horror as realization hit. Her gaze met mine across the room. Brandon's mother, hands trembling, scrolled her phone. It's true, she said. There's a photo. She held up the press release image. Me in a business suit at Meridian's headquarters, logo behind me, professional and unmistakable. The room exploded. Guests frantically searched online, conversations erupting. She runs a multi-million-dollar company. Rachel said she sold jewelry. Brandon called her a hobbyist in that toast. $340 million. I sat with the catering staff as Brandon stood stunned on the dance floor, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and dread. Rachel covered her mouth, tears welling. Brandon's father pushed toward me, his earlier dismissal replaced by eager interest. Olivia, I had no clue. We should talk. Tech investment opportunities, I've got connections. I'm sure, I said calmly, staying seated. His mother appeared, her polished facade cracking. This is extraordinary. Why didn't you tell us? We'd have placed you at the head table, introduced you to everyone. Would you? I asked softly. Or would you have brushed me off because I didn't display wealth the way you expect? She flushed. More guests approached, suddenly eager to connect, discuss business. A groomsman who'd ignored me earlier now wanted to talk tech. I stayed seated. Marco, beside me, stifled a laugh at the chaos. Rachel pushed through, mascara streaking, Brandon trailing, looking shell-shocked. Olivia, she said, voice breaking, I didn't know. I swear. You never asked, I replied. You assumed. When people asked about my work, you cut in, calling it a little online business before I could explain. I tried to tell you. Thanksgiving, I mentioned Meridian's expansion. You changed the topic. At Christmas, I shared our Fortune 500 contract. You asked if I'd get a real job. At your engagement party, I started talking about our series, Be Funding. You walked away mid-sentence to chat with Brandon's friends. Each point landed heavily. Rachel's face crumpled. Brandon stepped forward, his smirk gone. The toast, he stammered. I said your hobby, your side hustle, that you weren't at our level. I stood, meeting his gaze. For context, your biggest deal was $12 million. My company's revenue last year was $87 million. The acquisition you're reading about values Meridian at $340 million. My stake is about 62%. The numbers hung heavy. Someone gasped, doing the math. She's worth over $200 million, a business contact said, awestruck. On paper, post-deal, I clarified. The reception descended into barely concealed chaos. The planned evening, first dance, toasts, cake cutting, was overshadowed by the financial news. Guests clustered around phones, reading articles. One headline nearby. Meridian Technologies sale. How CEO Olivia Chin built a tech empire in 7 years. Rachel's mother approached, distraught. Olivia, I'm so sorry. We should have asked more, been curious. I just assumed, with Rachel saying jewelry. You assumed I wasn't successful, I said gently, because success is loud, right? It's performed, announced. I don't do that. I didn't mean, she faltered. I drive a decade-old car, I said. I live modestly. No designer clothes or flashy jewelry. By your standards, I seemed unsuccessful. So you treated me that way. That's unfair, Brandon's mother interjected, overhearing. How could we know? By asking, I said. By showing interest in your family's lives, not dismissing their work as a hobby without understanding it. The event coordinator approached cautiously. Miss Chin, reporters are outside. They heard you're here and about the acquisition. Tell them I'm celebrating my cousin's wedding, I said. No interviews tonight. But Rachel's perfect evening was undone. Guests were more focused on my deal than her marriage. Brandon's contacts now orbited me. His parents' social standing faltered. their dismissal of a multimillionaire exposed. On a terrace, I found Rachel alone, her composure shattered. I ruined your wedding, I said, though we both knew that wasn't entirely true. No, I did, she said, wiping tears. By seating you with the staff, introducing you as my cousin with a little business, never bothering to understand your life. Why didn't you ask? I said softly, we were close once. When did that change? When Brandon entered my life, she admitted. His family's wealth, connections, status, I got swept up, started judging success by their metrics. Appearances, loud achievements. You were quiet, so I thought your work wasn't impressive. Success doesn't need a stage, I said. She laughed bitterly. Brandon bragged for 10 minutes about a $12 million deal. You sat quietly with a $340 million company. The irony's brutal. I built something real, I said. Technology that solves problems. His deals shuffle money. My work creates value. She nodded, tears falling. Everyone will remember this as the wedding where I sat my millionaire CEO cousin with the servers. It's trending online. Social media fades, I said. What matters is what's next. Do you want a relationship with me? The real me, the tech founder, or do you want distance because I don't play the wealth game like Brandon's family? I want my cousin back, Rachel said instantly. The one I admired before I got caught up in status. Then we start over, I said. After your honeymoon, coffee, just us. You can ask about my real life. She hugged me tightly. I'm so sorry. The reception stumbled through its remaining moments. The cake cutting was quiet, the bouquet toss lackluster. Guests left early, engrossed in their phones, reading about my deal. Brandon found me near the exit, humbled. That toast, he said softly. I was a total jerk. Yes, I agreed. Rachel said you tried to share your work, and we shut you down, assumed you weren't successful because you weren't flashy. Exactly. He ran a hand through his hair. I bragged about my $12 million deal to everyone. You sat there having sold a $340 million company, eating with the servers, saying nothing because the work speaks for itself. I don't need to shout it at weddings to feel successful, I said. Teach me that, he said, surprising me. How to value what you build, not what you broadcast. I've been doing it wrong. I studied him, the man who'd mocked my hobby hours earlier, now genuine. Start by respecting people. No matter how their success looks, I said. The quiet one in the corner might be building empires. The loudest might be hiding insecurity. Confidence doesn't need applause. He nodded. Congratulations, Olivia. What you built is amazing. I drove home in my 10-year-old car through the city where I'd grown Meridian from a tiny startup to a $340 million enterprise. My phone buzzed with messages, colleagues' congratulations, media interview requests, investor inquiries, and one from Rachel. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'll do better. The wedding was now infamous, the story of the CEO at the catering table trending. Brandon's toast, juxtaposed with my acquisition news, went viral. Business outlets framed it as a lesson in assumptions. But none of that mattered as much as the truth. I'd built something impactful, quietly, measuring success by results, not fanfare. Rachel and Brandon might learn that, or they might not. Either way, Meridian stood as proof that real success doesn't need a spotlight, just table 18 and a perfectly timed press release.